In 2004, a truck driver claims he had a bizarre run-in with an apparent non-human entity. It began on the morning of April 9, 2004, Ellicott City, Maryland. A man driving his 18-wheeler traveling north on US 29 was eager to get some breakfast and looking for a store to pull over at and grab something. He took the US 40 exit east. Then at the light, he went right instead of left, which took him into a residential area. Realizing his mistake, the driver knew he had to turn around, so he took the first right down the street and went nearly 2 blocks where he saw a person walking a dog. The figure had a gray hooded sweatshirt on, pulled over their head, and was facing away from the witness. The person's body type appeared shapely and feminine, and he assumed that it was a female. His truck was loud and apparently startled the woman, who quickly turned around and looked him directly in the eyes. The trucker was startled, instantly recognizing that this woman wasn't a woman at all, but something else. The face was unlike anything he'd ever seen before except in sci-fi movies and alien drawings. He noted the figure was around 5'4", with an oblong-shaped face and a sunken nose, creamy pale skin, a very small mouth, and 2 very large, all-black eyes that stared at the witness. This caused him to shudder with fear. He knew that he wasn't looking at a mask, and something about this thing frightened him, and he immediately drove past her, not stopping until he was halfway down the street. He watched the figure in his side view. It suddenly dawned on him what had happened, and he was desperate to find out for sure that it was real. So he quickly turned the truck around, doing a U-turn in the intersection, and went back. Even though less than a minute had elapsed, the entity and the dog were now gone. He simply could not understand this since they had only been out of sight for a few seconds during the turn. It was almost as if they had simply vanished. Albert Rosales, author of the Humanoid journals, noted that this account was a first for him and that he could not recall another case in which an apparent extraterrestrial entity was seen to care for a dog in such a way. A woman named Laura spoke to Clyde Lewis on his Ground Zero radio on May 12, 2015, about a very strange encounter she had had. The incident occurred in Michigan. Laura claims that she and her 2 daughters were shopping at Costco when they decided to take a break and grab something to eat. One of the daughters pointed to a sweet older couple sitting at a table in the food court. Laura immediately got a foreboding type of feeling about them, but brushed it off. We proceeded to go over. We ordered pizza. We were going to sit down with the pizza and, the boxes at Costco are ginormous. One of the female said to me, "You could sit at our table." We had more room to sit there and eat. I said, "Okay." We ended up offering them a piece, and they said they had gone and the female had had an MRI done. They were checking her for brain cancer or a brain tumor or something like that. And I sparked a conversation because my daughter, she's 25 now, had had brain surgery for brain cancer when she was 11 years old. And we started talking to them a little bit, and they declined the pizza offer because we had offered them food. So we just kind of talked to them a little bit. When they were getting up, getting ready to leave, I said, "Hey, what's your name? I want to pray for you." And she kind of stammered a little bit, and she stammered and stuttered a little bit. I saw what looked like a hologram over her face, and through that hologram I could see a head shape, and I could kind of make out features just a tiny bit, but not a whole lot. To me, it looked like what people say a gray looks like. A gray alien. Laura claims at that moment the older woman said her name was Ruth, and this is where Laura's memory gets hazy. She told me her name was Ruth, and I don't remember them walking away. I don't remember any of that. The next thing I knew, we were kind of, all of us, we didn't speak about it at all. We were in the middle of the parking lot going towards my vehicle, and I kind of said, "Hey, did anybody notice anything weird about Ruth's face?" That's when my 25-year-old said, "Yeah, that's kind of weird." She goes, "It kind of looked like a mirage or something, kind of like wavy across her face." I said, "Yeah, "Did you see anything else?" I said, "Like, beyond that?" And she said, "No, why?" I said, "Because I did." It was so surreal, and it still is. I told my husband and my daughters, my 21-year-old and my 25-year-old. We just discussed it so much they were like, "Stop. Why did this happen to me? Why could I see it and my daughter couldn't?" She could sense there was something wrong about them. I don't know. I just wanted to call in and tell you that. And as the older couple were leaving, they declined food or any offers of food from Laura and her daughters. And as this older couple were leaving, I guess Laura asked her, "What's your name?" And the older woman basically stammered and got nervous, and something was off. And then that's when Laura claimed she saw her face seemed to it shifted, or she kind of saw an alien face just underneath it was, I guess I can't explain this, but I guess her face sort of morphed for a second into this alien face, this gray alien, and then morphed back into this woman's face. This is she had. It's really bizarre because I've heard so many reports like this where people claim that they're talking to a person, and then for a second they glitch out. You see their real, they see their real form, which is typically a gray alien or a reptilian. Then they shift back into their. It sounds absolutely loony. I know, it sounds incredibly strange and goofy, and typically you see these videos on YouTube where Justin Bieber switched into a reptilian or stuff like that, and I typically don't buy into this stuff. But these stories from people that are regular people saying that they were talking to somebody and then they shifted, those are out there, and they are very strange. Recently posted in Albert Rosales' Humanoid and Other Strange Encounters Facebook group is an account from a man named Helmut Lagenberger Jr. involving a very strange encounter he had back in 2005 in, I think, Ontario, Canada. He claims that he was at a pool hall with some friends when, just before closing time, a young blonde woman approached him and invited him back to her apartment. Helmut found this odd since there were 5 of them and only 1 of her. They agreed and eventually headed back to her place. As soon as we reached her apartment, she started modeling skimpy clothes for us. She would go to her room, change, then come out. At one point, 2 of my friends started arguing over who was going to sleep with her. This was at about 3:30 a.m. I quickly tried to defuse the situation because they almost came to blows. Just as I reminded them that they had been friends for over 20 years, she turned in a way that only I could see her face, and her face changed. The best way I could describe it is when you are watching an old TV and the picture goes blurry for a second. Her face went fuzzy, then her eyes and mouth went jet black as she smiled at me. I was so scared that every hair on my body stood up on end. I got up out of my seat, didn't say one word, grabbed my shoes and left. I didn't talk about it to anyone for a long time. Helmut claims that soon after he left, the others followed except for 1 who remained there. Afterwards, he claims he never spoke of it, nor did he have any interest in following up with the friend who stayed behind. According to him, he wanted nothing to do with that woman and felt no desire to follow up or ever discuss the events of that night. In the years since, he has come to believe that he had been given a brief glimpse of something evil that night, possibly a demon. It was almost like she had everyone under her spell, except me. I remember looking over at my friends and you could see the lust in their eyes. I didn't speak about this for a long time for fear of judgment. That image is something I'll never forget. Believe me when I tell you, I've tried to make excuses for what I saw, but I know what I saw. It's undeniable. Author David M. Jacobs is a big proponent of this idea that hybrid extraterrestrial entities are living and working among us. In his 2015 book, Walking Among Us, Jacobs lays out a thoughtful case as to why he believes that these entities have integrated themselves into our society, and they've always been here with us in some form or another. In previous videos, I have discussed cases in which people claim encounters with seemingly strange-looking beings doing seemingly mundane everyday things, including shopping at Walmart, waiting for their cars to get fixed, and the above case, walking their dog. Linda Moulton Howe reported on a case in which a masseuse said that the person they were massaging suddenly transformed into a grayish-looking creature before quickly shifting back into their human form right in front of their eyes, as if the creature was utilizing a cloaking mechanism that accidentally glitched. These beings, whoever or whatever they are, can look and act like us, but sometimes, for reasons we cannot understand, the veil slips and we are given a look at their true form.